The Druid is a shape-shifting hybrid class, and is also one of the most versatile classes in the game. As with other hybrids, Druids need to specialize to be most effective in any role. Due to their need to shapeshift to fulfill roles, they can only perform one role at a time. They must switch between the different shapes to adapt to changing situations. Overview: Balance, specialize in damage spells, and an additional moon confirm, turning them into an efficient ranged spellcaster that is somewhere between a mage and a shadow priest in playstyle, in the equivalent of plate armor. They excel at nuking single targets as well as providing effective off-healing and crowd control support. With the Wrath of the Lich King expansion providing them effective AoE damage, they are now on par with any of the other casting classes provided they are skilled. Feral enhances the Druid's abilities in cat form. Cat form specializes in bleeding the target. They have stealth abilities similar to a rogue, and bring versatility to the raid group. Upon choosing the feral specialization, some abilities are only available in this tree. Abilities such as Rip and Savage Roar can only be used in this specialization. Other Guardian abilities such as Savage Defense and Bear Hug cannot be used in this specialization. Guardian enhances the Druid's abilities in bear form. Use of Savage Defense to dodge attacks and other cooldowns make bears a very viable dag for raiding. They are great for encounters that require swapping of dags to a damage roll, as all they need is a change of specialization. Restoration healers. Their resurrection spell Rebirth can be cast in combat. Restoration Druids have some of the best heal overtime spells of all healing classes, effectively allowing them to continue healing while incapacitated. In addition, the mobility offered by their heal overtime spells makes them especially effective in PvP. This together with their excellent mana efficiency and in combat resurrection ability makes them an effective healing class. A properly spec'd and geared Druid is capable of fulfilling any role. Druid players need to be aware that this versatility also bears a danger. It may be difficult to keep focused when gathering gear. Druids may also encounter doubt from less experienced players that a class can actually be as flexible as Druids can successfully be. In order to truly fulfill a hybrid role, Druids require several complete sets of gear. This is expensive in time, bag space, and gold. However, the ability to spec the completely different roles makes Druids a smart and flexible class choice. If you are tired of performing one task, you need not create another character to fulfill another role. You simply respec to a new one at little cost and considerably less effort. Background: we are the preservers of the balance, now and forever, as Malfern lies in the dreaming. Never forget this. Call of Dolinar. Druids are keepers of the world who walk the path of nature, following the wisdom of the ancients and Canarius, healing and nurturing the world. To Druids, nature is a delicate balance of actions in which even the smallest imbalance can create storming turmoil from peaceful skies. Druids draw their power from this wild energy, using it to change their shapes and command the forces of nature. Traditionally, Druids chose the path of a specific animal totem. Since the invasion of the Burning Legion, however, most Druids have undergone a number of reforms, including encouraging the study of magic from all totems. Druids who do this are known as Druids of the Wild. Lore: Canarius is the patron entity of all Druids. However, each group of Druids has its own special patrons, and some even have the ability to transform into a being that looks like their patron. Many Druids will take on an animal companion based on their patron. According to Tauran mythology, Canarius instructed them first in Druidism, as recounted in their myth, Forest Lord, and the first Druids. With the release of Wrath of the Lich King, it is strongly suggested that Tauran were most likely to have been the first students of Canarius, as accounted for by a 10,000-plus-year-old immortal Tauran Druid by the name of Xarantor. There is still debate whether this character is considered canon, but at the very least Xarantor suggests in the game that while he and his brethren were taught directly by Canarius, his fellow Druids forgot their lessons over the years. This would imply that current Tauran Druidism is relatively new, learned from the Night Elves. As it stands, the Night Elves lay claim to the first Druid with Malfern Stormrage. Malfern Stormrage, the first of the Night Elven Druids, is not only considered the most powerful known Druid in Warcraft lore, but is also considered one of the most powerful characters on Azeroth. Malfrin led the Night Elves through the War of the Ancients and the long years that followed. With the creation of the world tree Nordrassil, the Kaldorei Druids were bound to Ysera and her realm, the Emerald Dream, in which they spent centuries of their immortal lives. The Cenarian Circle was formed as the governing society of Druids, based in sacred Moonglade. Locked in slumber in their barrow dens for generations, the Druids awoke to meet the threat of the Burning Legion during its recent invasion. After Arshimon's defeat, the Druids chose to remain in the waking world and help to rebuild their shattered lands. The Legion's attack left a terrible scar on the natural order, and the Druids sought to heal it. The Night Elf Druids were recently joined in the Cenarian Circle by the Tauren Druids. Neither participated in the alliance/war conflict, but coexist peacefully within the Circle. Druids belong to many other different organizations or types, including the Cenarian Expedition Druids, of the Claw Druids, of the Talon Druids, of the Wild Druids, of the Fang Druids, of the Antler Druids, of the Grove and Druids, of the Scythe. Warcraft Encyclopedia. Druids come and go as they please, and their goals typically have little to do with the civilized world. Unaffiliated with any specific government, the primary Druidic organization on Azeroth, the Cenarian Circle, answers to no one save itself. The highest rank that a Druid can have is that of Archdruid, and there are only a few Archdruids on Azeroth. At the moment, the Cenarian Circle's leader is Archdruid Malfrin Stormrage, also widely considered to be the first mortal Druid on Azeroth. Strengths, abilities, and underlying motivations. Through their deep connection to life and nature, Druids are able to take on an unusually large variety of roles. Probably a Druid's best-known role is that of a healer. Druids are justly famed for their ability to restore life, cure poisonous wounds, and remove curses. Indeed, restoring and protecting the planet is one of the top priorities for all Druids. Still, to regard a Druid as merely a healer is a dangerously simplistic assumption that has led to the defeat of many an unwary foe. Druids' empathy with the creatures of the wild also allows them to shape-shift into the forms of other animals. For example, a wounded Druid whose magical energies are running low might abruptly take on the form of a bear in order to better withstand further injury. Alternatively, the Druid might shift into the form of some large cat, sneak up behind an enemy, then pounce and deliver a fierce flurry of melee attacks. Even the deepest oceans can be explored by Druids, who can simply shift into an aquatic creature, allowing them to stay underwater as long as needed. Until the end of the Third War, Druids periodically visited the Emerald Dream to monitor the ebb and flow of life on Azeroth. Today such a visit has become more difficult due to Nordrassil's poor health. Druids possess a deep understanding of the way in which all living things depend upon one another. Whenever this delicate equilibrium is disrupted, the Druids work to restore the balance. To that end, Druids can use their connection with the Emerald Dream to exert a calming influence over animals, even forcing some into a temporary state of hibernation. Just as the Druids can wield peace and somnolence, however, they can tap into the fury of nature itself. Terrible storms respond to their call, thorns sprout from their skin to wound their attackers. Even previously harmless roots grow from the soil at greatly accelerated speeds in order to entangle foes. Limitations. For obvious reasons, Druids thrive in the wild outdoors. Inevitably, however, they lose some of their effectiveness when they are forced to endure separation from the natural environment. What good is a cleansing rain when a Druid cannot even see the sky? How are roots to capture a foe who is standing atop a high tower? Such cases clearly require a Druid with the imagination to consider new strategies and the flexibility to carry them out. Yet this flexibility, too, comes with an underlying negative corollary. The Druid tends to be a jack of all trades, but a master of none. An unusual mixture of priest, rogue, and warrior, the Druid is therefore not equal to any of these three classes in their particular specialties. Even so, the Druid's incredible adaptability serves them well in confronting the challenges that Azeroth has to offer. Equipment. Druids do not use shields, although in bear form their armor is so high it were as if they were, and do not dual wield. Offhand items may be used by Druids. Druids receive a 5% bonus to their primary stat when wearing all leather armor. It is uncommon to find two-handed maces with agility on them, so most feral or guardian Druids use either staves or pole arms. Endgame expectations. While before the Burning Crusade expansion most Druids were healers in the endgame, new itemization and talents have made Druids of any specialization viable in endgame and raids. There is no class better at healing over time than Restoration Druids. In raid encounters where there is a lot of movement and cast times are often interrupted, a Druid is quite effective in healing due to the instant cast nature of their huts, enabling spells to be cast on the run. In arenas, Resto Druid teams are particularly feared by many due to the Druid's ability to quickly cast huts on both partner and self, and the ability to keep out of harm's way with travel form, effectively kiting most opponents. Guardian Druids can fill the counter role of tanking well. While warriors have significant advantages on some raid bosses, Guardian Druids have the unique flexibility to switch from tanking to melee DPS on demand. They often tank bosses or mob groups, where more tanks are required, and then change form and gear to DPS on bosses, where only 1 or 2 tanks are required. It is also possible during a single fight, if the ad they are off tanking dies. Feral Druids are expected to bring utility, while still providing reliable damage over time bleeds. Many cats are able to hit high damage meters, while still being able to battle resurrect or tank small ads, if needed. Races. The Druid class can be played by the following races: Night Elf, Worgen, Tauren, Troll. The Druid class is the most limited class concerning races. Only 2 races per faction can become a Druid. The Worgen and Troll races were added in the Cataclysm expansion. The Worgen and Troll races were added in the expansion.